Hi everyone, it's me, Arielle, and it's Wednesday Warriors, and today I want to talk about awareness because Eating Disorder Awareness Week is either finishing up or has not yet started depending upon where you live, and I want to talk about something specifically that I like to raise awareness about in regards to eating disorders because I think awareness that eating disorders are a serious mental illness, that they cause significant problems, that they cause death, and that we need to have more things in place to help people with eating disorders. Those things are all really important, but I think some things do get overlooked when we talk about awareness, and one of the things that I'm really passionate about is EDNOS, which stands for Eating Disorders Not Otherwise Specified, and so many people fall into that category, and I think we give so much awareness to anorexia, to bulimia, even sometimes to binge eating disorder, though obviously to a lesser extent. And everyone who falls into any other category, it's automatically thought by most of mainstream media and by most of society at large that they're just not as sick, it's not as serious an issue, they certainly can't die from it, and anorexia and bulimia are just automatically worse, more dire. And it's just not true. I did a video last year for Eating Disorder Awareness Week about giving voice to EDNOS because really many more people fit into that category than into the categories for anorexia, bulimia, or binge eating disorder. And the really great thing is that with the new DSM that's coming out, EDNOS is going to be, I guess what I want to say is that anorexia and bulimia are going to have more diagnostic criteria associated with them so that more people can kind of fit the bill. Whereas before in the past, you couldn't technically be diagnosed with anorexia if, for example, you didn't lose your period, or if, for example, you didn't reach that certain threshold of weight loss. And I personally think it's ridiculous. I think it's silly. And I think that to lump everyone who didn't meet every single criteria into the category for EDNOS really set them up for failure in recovery because a lot of places don't think EDNOS is as serious as other disorders, but also insurance doesn't necessarily cover it, especially for other countries. I mean, in a lot of ways, the United States does cater to EDNOS where other countries do not, and I know there's still certainly so much room for improvement, so don't get me wrong. But I had done some research, and in a lot of places, the majority of people who were in treatment centers, for example, for an eating disorder, the majority of those people actually had EDNOS. They didn't have anorexia, or they didn't have bulimia or binge eating disorder. So that just goes to show that a lot of people with EDNOS do get treatment. What I think tends to happen is that people who are diagnosed with EDNOS think that their illness is not as serious because they buy into the society stereotype, I guess, and they think that, they're not as worthy of help, and they think that certain things, they don't fit the mold for certain things, for support, for resources, and they just kind of give up on themselves, and I think it's really sad that we don't give more voice to that eating disorder. So instead of rehashing that whole video where I gave voice to EDNOS from last year, what I really want to say to give awareness to this year is eating disorders come in all shapes and sizes. Eating disorders have a variety of contributors, and eating disorders affect men and women, children and adults. They affect the elderly. They affect people in a variety of different cultures and ethnicities and races and countries. Eating disorders do not discriminate. They are extremely serious, and they can touch anyone. I know that there's been sort of a slogan going around that everybody knows someone. Everyone knows someone who has struggled or is struggling with an eating disorder. And I think that's very true, because even if you don't think that you know someone, it's probably just because they haven't disclosed it to you. You don't have to be skeletal and look like you are knocking on death's door to have a serious, serious eating disorder. You can look like the girl or the boy next door. You can look happy. You can even sometimes look healthy. And it doesn't mean that you are healthy. It doesn't mean that you don't have a need for help. It doesn't mean that you don't deserve help. And it doesn't mean that your eating disorder isn't going to kill you. So I think we all need to remember that. And I say that, to people who might know people who have eating disorders. I say that to friends and family members who know someone with eating disorders. But I also say it to people who are struggling with an eating disorder, to people who are in recovery from an eating disorder. It doesn't matter what eating disorder you have. Who cares? An eating disorder is an eating disorder. It means that something is wrong. It means that something is not the way that it should be. It means that you are not healthy mentally and physically and emotionally, and that you need help. And help is out there. Sometimes it's a struggle to find it. And it's very unfortunate that people have to work so hard just to get someone to listen, or just to get someone to help them, or just to get together the money or the insurance to cover that help that they so desperately need. But you're not alone. There are people who will listen, I promise. And eating disorders, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's anorexia. It doesn't matter if it's bulimia. It doesn't matter if it's binge eating disorder or EDNOS or orthorexia or purging disorder or overexercise. It doesn't matter what your specific issue is. We're all different people anyway. So 100 people with anorexia aren't going to look the same. They're not going to have the same issues, the same causes, the same problems, the same factors. They're not going to have the same family life. They're not going to have the same appearance. They're not going to have the same recovery time. And that goes for anyone with bulimia or any other kind of eating disorder. So don't get hung up on the diagnosis. Don't get hung up on labels. Do you really want to be a label anyway? I certainly didn't. And eating disorder, just as it is label enough. So move on from here. Spread awareness about eating disorders being serious. Forget all those little subtypes. Forget all the main types. Forget all the ones that we hear about all the time. And let's just talk about them as they are. Eating disorders kill. Eating disorders hurt. Eating disorders are serious. And all eating disorders deserve help. Because the people with the eating disorders are not their eating disorders. I hope you all have a great week. I will see you next time.